Well, hi guys, and welcome back. This week we're looking at Ruth 2:11 through 12, and that says, "And Boaz answered her, I have thoroughly heard about all the things you have done for your mother-in-law after your husband died, how you left everything, your father, mother, and even your homeland, and came to a place you have never been to before. I pray that the Lord will repay you for all you have done, and that He, the Lord God of Israel, will reward you greatly as you come to seek Him as your source of protection." Now, the worst lie I have ever heard as a kid was that sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. Whoever thought of that phrase did not spend a lot of time around other people, because when it comes to how we talk to each other, our words carry weight. James 3:5 is a great reminder of this and the power of our speech when he states, "So also the tongue is a small member, yet it boasts of great things. How great a forest is set ablaze by such a small fire." But personally, I think an even greater example of the power of words can be found in this second chapter of Ruth. This is because the second chapter of Ruth is what is called a chiasm. Now you may be wondering, okay, well, what is a chiasm? Well, simply put, it's like a literary version of symmetry, right? So you have a set of phrases that are followed by another set of phrases, but the second set mirror the first set, but in reverse order. Okay, that's really confusing. Let's give you an example. So if I was to say something like, I threw the ball went up, the ball came down, I caught the ball. So the first and the last line marry each other, right? So I threw the ball, I caught the ball. And the two middle lines marry each other, right? The ball went up, the ball came down. And this often is used to emphasize a point or to connect two elements. And why is this important? Why should you know this? Well, that's because the writers of the Bible loved chiasms. They would put a chiasm into a single verse, into a passage, into whole sections of a book. In fact, some scholars point out how Luke probably wrote both Luke and Acts as one giant chiastic structure. And that brings us back to Ruth 2. Because if you were to break down the second chapter of Ruth into smaller sections, you would start to find that each section reflects each other. For example, it starts with Ruth leaving to gather, and then it ends with Ruth returning. Then you have Boaz asks his workers about Ruth. Then you have Boaz commanding his workers about Ruth. Then you have Boaz says something, and then Ruth says something. Then Ruth says something, then Boaz says something. And at the top of this literary hill is verses 11 and 12. These two verses form the main focus of the entire chapter. But why? What is it about these verses that cause such an impact on the story? I mean, what Boaz says is lovely, right? He tells Ruth how her reputation about how she's taking care of her mother-in-law has preceded her, and he pronounces a blessing over her. So I guess you could take away that maybe the moral of the story is that by living a righteous life, that will lead to blessings. But to me, it's just not about what he said so much, but what his words caused to happen. And what I mean is this. Before Boaz's speech, Ruth is portrayed as a poor person in desperate need who is an outsider. Ruth is both economically and socially not in a good position. Yet after Boaz says what he does, it seems like all of that has changed. Ruth goes from fearing Boaz to thanking him, from being treated as an outsider to being treated as part of the group. And she goes from barely having enough to survive to having plenty. Boaz didn't just accept Ruth, he confirmed her. His encouraging words changed her emotional state, her social status, and her future. Has this ever happened to you? Has what someone said changed your life? It may be easy to think of negative examples of this. Bad news can have life-altering consequences. Yet the opposite is true as well. I can think of examples in my own life where a kind word changed a terrible day into a great one. As Proverbs 15:4 reminds us, a gentle tongue is a tree of life. How can you encourage someone this week? How can you use your words to change someone's life? Remember, the good news we have is life-changing. It doesn't just act like a ticket to heaven, but it frees a person to live a whole and abundant life. But remember, this transformation starts with our words. Thank you again for watching. Please like and subscribe. Links down below if you want to see anything, if you want to read this or follow on the podcast. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.